my name's George, and in today's video we're going to look at how you can identify and address common errors made by students in your classroom. Before I continue, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of these lessons. It's difficult to address every single error in your class, but if you use the Cambridge Common Error cards, you'll be able to identify the common patterns in your students' errors. This will give your lessons more focus and speed up your students' progress. For this video, I'm going to be focusing on errors made by learners from Korea, as I'm teaching Korean students, but there are different cards available for different learners, and the resources and suggestions in the video are for everyone. I went to the London. I bought a hand phone. I'm eat breakfast now. These are all common errors made by learners from Korea, and these errors are influenced by their first language, which is Korean. So now we're going to briefly look at why they make these mistakes. Explanations of these errors are provided in Cambridge's Common Error cards, along with examples of errors made by learners from other countries. I went to the London. In the first sentence, I went to the London, the has been added unnecessarily because in Korean they don't have definite or indefinite articles like the or which leads to some confusion as to when to use them in English. This type of error is illustrated in the Cambridge Common Error cards, where there are examples of missing definite and indefinite articles and an unnecessary definite article in this sentence. I bought a hand phone. In the second sentence, I bought a hand phone, the learner has incorrectly used the word hand phone instead of phone because of the presence of Konglish words in Korean. Konglish words are English loanwords used in Korean, which are often quite different to their English equivalents. And as a consequence, they might sound strange to native English speakers. For example, a Korean person might say, I need to buy a rash guard to go surfing, instead of I need to buy a wetsuit to go surfing. I'm eat breakfast now. In the last sentence, I'm eat breakfast now, the learner has missed the ing in the present continuous, so they should have said, I'm eating breakfast now. This is because in Korean, although they have the present continuous form, they don't always have to use it for actions that are being done in this moment. Verb tenses feature in the cards for Korean learners. For example, confusion between is and was and can and could. It's useful to be aware of common errors influenced by a learner's first language, as it will help you to identify predictable patterns like the ones I showed you earlier made by Korean students. Which is why I recommend using the Cambridge Common Error cards in your lessons. Here are some examples of errors made by learners from Korea. As you can see here, determiners and prepositions are amongst the most common errors made in Korea. But there are lots of other cards available, and you'll notice that each learner has a different set of common errors depending on their first language. Here are some of the ways you can incorporate these cards into your lessons. Tip number 1. You can use these cards to make a Kahoot quiz to see which of these errors are most frequently made in your class, so you can address these first. For my Kahoot quiz, I've added 4 possible options using the common error cards for the Korean learners. So I go to the London last year, I went to the London last year, I went to London last year, and I went to London last year. So I select the correct answer, which is this one, and then I type a question, which sentence is correct. I can add a time limit if I want to, and then I click done. Tip number 2. You could do an error correction race, so you could incorporate some of these errors into a short text. Here I've used some examples of common errors made by Korean students, but you can incorporate errors from the common error cards that are relevant to your students. You can then ask the students to identify a set number of errors in the text. The first person to identify all of the errors is the winner. Tip number 3. After a speaking activity, you could go over the common errors made by the students anonymously, utilising the common error cards. This is a great opportunity for students to correct their own errors, something which can make them feel proud and give them greater confidence. And don't forget to praise the students for good language too. You could do this by writing up some examples of good language that the students used in the lesson. This might be a good idiom, a good use of grammar, or a very natural sounding expression. Tip number 4. During a writing task, monitor the students and write down any common errors on the whiteboard. You can also add some examples from the common error cards too. Then encourage the students to look through their first draft to find any of these errors. Don't forget to remind the students that making errors is normal and part of the process of improving their English language skills. Thanks for watching everybody. Check out the Common Errors download link in the description below, and don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to the channel.